In the United Kingdom, we live in a parliamentary democracy, and what this essentially means is one party runs the country and the rest of the parties oppose that one party in Parliament and they debate stuff. And it's an oppositional system, and so the party that came second, the largest party that came second, which was the Conservatives at the last election, they get, or the leader of that party gets, to ask questions of the Prime Minister. Now, it can be the Prime Minister's next in command, it could be Angela Rayner versus other people, or it can just be anybody if the Prime Minister and the deputies are off. But regardless of anything else, once a week, give or take, they do have some weeks off, we get the people in opposition to the government, we get to watch this opposition party ask some very, very specific questions of the government. So the government just gets on with running things, and then once a week they're all dragged into Parliament as part of our system, and we'll have this Prime Minister's questions, and the leader of the opposition asks questions directly of the Prime Minister. And when that happens, the Prime Minister is not allowed to lie. If he lies in Parliament, then you get into serious trouble. So this is really important for our whole system. A lot of the time, politics has been diluted to the point where we watch these 15-second clips of things, or we watch GB News, or we go on TikTok or X, or whatever it is that happens, or YouTube. And a lot of the time, it's forgotten that the purest form of parliamentary debate is actually a Prime Minister's questions. And it's very rare that you ever see this stuff brought up on the news. But it's a very, very, very important part of our system, because it's the only time that the politicians cannot lie. And as a result of this, because they can't lie, they either have to ignore the question, deflect the question, or dance around the question, or just get into some type of gesticulating debate that they do where, they just take the mick out of each other and there's lots of oohs and ahs. But regardless of that, if you do watch these debates quite closely, you do get a good insight into what's actually happening at the moment with these parties and exactly how these politicians feel within themselves.
The opposition, Kemi Beryl.
Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor claimed that her budget was a once-in-a-Parliament reset. So why are we having an emergency budget next week?
Mr. Speaker, we have delivered record investment into this country, had 3 interest rates cut in a row, and wages are going up faster than prices, which is a massive cost of living boost. That's after only 8 months, after 14 years of absolute failure. What do they do? Interest rates 11%, massive 22 million black hole in the economy. They crashed the economy. We're rebuilding Britain.
It's a wonder that Keir Starmer can walk straight to Prime Minister's questions with the set of answers that he's just provided there. Record investment. Well, most businesses and surveys have decided to pause investment. Certainly there's been zero investment in the car industry, which is falling to pieces. North Sea oil investment has been dried up to nothing by Ed Miliband, so there's not a lot of investment happening there. New business infrastructure is down, and so record investment, perhaps on the numbers that he's looking at, though I'm not sure where he's getting those numbers from. Wages are going up. Wages are going up. Are wages going up? Has your wage gone up? The question I would ask you is, has your wage gone up quicker than food prices? A little story. I sometimes buy mince beef. And I go and I generally buy, because I like the fattier type of mince beef. I don't know about you, I don't like the 5%, I like the 20%. The real mince beef with the real fat content in, because I prefer the taste of that. So I've been buying the same packet of that for ages, and I believe it was late November, early December, where I buy it, it went up from £2.50 to £3. So that's what I call a 20% increase. And I've noticed generally that, and you've probably noticed this yourself, that your shopping bill has been going up. You'll have also noticed that other things are going up, like your council tax, like your water rates, like your energy bills, like your food prices, like everything else. If you want to just buy anything, you go online, everything's more expensive. It's more expensive to do everything. It's more expensive to eat out. I was walking through a market and I had to stop and do a double take because there was a stand there offering what looked like a very pleasant chicken kebab. I have to say, I did like the look of it. And it was £16.50. Now, I stopped and I kind of done one of those cartoon double takes that used to get on Tom and Jerry. And I thought, what was that? £16.50 for that. And so when the Prime Minister's standing there telling you from his figures, however they've been massaged, from his figures, that the cost of wages is outstripping the cost of living, you tell me, what's your personal experience of that? My personal experience of that is that he's a liar. One of the things that is often neglected when we're looking at cost of living and increases and all of that is that the basket of measures used with which to analyse the inflation figures, food, petrol, all of the costs that most people, insurance service costs, general eating out, all of this stuff, you would imagine that everything's included. But that's not true. Year on year, the basket of measures taken with which to measure inflation changes. And what this does is it allows the government to massage the figures. And in massaging those figures, they get to say really stupid things like, over the last year, wages are rising much faster than the cost of living. Because everybody knows that that's patently untrue. It's not real.
He knows why we're having an emergency budget, because since the last one, since the Chancellor delivered her budget in October, growth is down, borrowing is up, and she has destroyed business confidence. Does the Prime Minister now regret raising taxes on business?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the OBR will present their numbers. There'll be a spring statement next week. But, Mr. Speaker, she still hasn't. We've got record investment into this country. Interest rates have been cut, and she talks about national insurance. We had to fill the £22 billion black hole that they left. We've invested in the NHS, in schools and public services. We're pressing on with planning, with infrastructure and regulation. But I understand the Leader of the Opposition is straight talking, so perhaps she can help us with this. Is she going to reverse the next increase? If not, what's the point? If so, what other taxes is she raising to fill the hole? One way or the other.
To revisit what I said earlier, this is the opposition asking questions for the country. And Keir Starmer didn't answer the question. He just avoided it. So what Kemi Badenoch asked was, growth is down, borrowing costs are up, and business confidence has just dropped through the floor. And so what's your answer? And his answer to that was, I'm not going to answer. And then what he did was, he come back and started asking Kemi Badenoch questions after repeated the same lines, the £22 billion black hole. And we can't even go there. We've heard that so many times. What they've done is they've made us punch drunk on the 22 million black hole. Billion, I should say, black hole. I've done what Keir Starmer did there. Because it's been said so often, it just loses all meaning. And then, of course, he asks her questions. This is called Prime Minister's Questions. And this is where the Prime Minister gets asked questions. And as you saw there, there's a lot of ums and ahs and all the rest of it, but he just does not answer the question.
You're in government. Speaker, the only black hole is the one that he is digging. Yeah. He's shown absolutely no regret, but everybody knows the Chancellor has made a mistake. Yes. That is why they're having an emergency budget. Yes. Later today, Later today, Conservatives will vote to exempt hospices, pharmacies and care providers from her national insurance rise. Will he, at the very least, support exempting these vulnerable services from his jobs tax?
Prime Minister.
I noticed she didn't say they're going to reverse the national insurance rises. It's exactly what she wants all the benefits, but they can't say how they're going to pay them. She carps from the sideline, but can't make her mind up whether she supports or doesn't support national insurance rises. We've made provision for hospices, we've made provisions for charities, but we had to secure the economy. We had to fill the £22 billion black hole that they disgracefully left.
Now we're moving very, very, very rapidly here into the area of disgust for me. If you're going to raise taxes on business, that's fine. But what the Leader of the Opposition just said there is, what are you doing about hospices? So you've changed all of these rules. Okay, you've changed the rules. What are you doing about hospices who are telling me, who have said that these new changes, which are going to come into effect, are going to hurt them? Then we're talking about hospices here, right? So these are places which are kind of sacrosanct in society. If you've ever visited a hospice, and I'm sure many of you who are over the age of 40 may have done so, even younger than that may have done so. And that's what we're talking about here. So that was a really serious question there, to which he just batted away as if he's on some playground.
Mr. Speaker, he hasn't made these provisions. He keeps talking about budget benefits. Unemployment is not a benefit. Businesses closing are not benefits. I asked him whether he would exempt hospices, even children's hospices, from the jobs tax. He did not answer that question. His MPs know that this could affect end-of-life care. So I will ask the same question again. Will he exempt hospices from paying his jobs tax?
Mr. Speaker, we've already invested £100 million for adult and children's hospices, an additional £26 million in funding for the Children's Hospices grant, but we can't get away with what we were doing in that budget, the root cause, which was fixing the economy they left so badly damaged, a £22 billion black hole. Perhaps you start the next question with an apology.
Mr. Speaker, I remember when he made... They want me to answer questions, then we can swap sides. I remember when he made that announcement. He's forgotten, because the money he's referring to for hospices is for buildings. It is not for the salaries hit by the jobs tax. As St Helena Hospice in Colchester said, we cannot use this funding for salaries, which is where we need urgent help. Why is the Prime Minister not listening to hospices?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've already set out the position in relation to hospices. She says that she wants to swap sides. I mean, heaven forbid. After 14 years of breaking everything, we're getting on with the job of fixing it, and all she can do is carp from the sidelines with absolutely no policy.
I can't show you any more of this, because really we don't have to go any further. The Leader of the Opposition has just said to our Prime Minister, your Chancellor at the last budget put a jobs tax on to the economy. And I've been talking to some children's hospices. So, hospices themselves. These are, places, if you've ever been into a hospice, the people that work in these hospices are special people, etc. I myself have never been into a children's hospice, and I'm very, very thankful for that, I have to say. But I've been into a hospice, and I've seen the jobs that go on there. And I'm sure whatever goes on at children's hospices, I'm sure that's of the same quality of care. And what the Leader of the Opposition's just said there is, this hospice has come to me, and they've told me that what you're saying, your investment goes into the building, that it's not going to help It's not going to help with wages, and we're going to have a real problem paying people to work at our hospice. And here is the reaction from the Labour front benches.
After 14 years of breaking everything, we're getting on with the job of fixing it, and all she can do is cart from the sidelines with absolutely no policy.
Hospices can't afford to pay their staff. They can't pay all of the people that they're paying now. The government is not going to provide an exemption for the most needy in society. And I'm not talking about this debate about disabled people and should we pay an extra 1,000 people a week or a day or whatever it is that's going on. I think it was a day. Should we do that? Meanwhile, children's hospices are begging the government to give them an exemption from a national insurance increase. And again, this is the reaction.
After 14 years of breaking everything, we're getting on with the job of fixing it, and all she can do is cart from the sidelines with absolutely no policy.
And if you really watch those Labour MPs there's a lot of smiling Labour MPs who get caught up in the moment of laughing at children's hospices. They're all having a good laugh at children's hospices. But if you notice, I'll play this clip one more time for you. If you look to the left of Kier Starmer, what you'll notice is that Angela Rayner is not smiling. She understands. And if you look to the right of the Prime Minister, Liz Kendall, she's not smiling either. And I think in that you start to see the divisions within the Labour Party of where this is going. You just have to look in people's faces sometimes.
After 14 years of breaking everything, we're getting on with the job of fixing it, and all she can do is cart from the sidelines.
This is the contempt with which they treat the British people. This is how this current government laughs at people who work at children's hospices. They're laughing on the front benches about not paying the wages of people who work in children's hospices. And that, my friends, is just a disgusting indictment of the state of politics in our country. Thanks very much for your time.